Hi, everybody, and welcome back to yet another cracking edition of the Matt Brown Show. This is the Secrets of Fail series, where we are talking to entrepreneurs and CEOs all about their epic business blunders. And with us in the hot seat today is the founder and CEO of Green Pal, Bryan Clayton. Bryan, welcome to the show.
Matt, great to be here. Thanks for having me on your show.
It's a privilege, man. It's always great to have a very interesting business like yours on the show. So let's do that now. Bryan, what's the elevator pitch for Green Pal? What exactly are you guys up to over there?
Yeah, GreenPal is an app that is kind of like Uber, but for lawn mowing. So if you're a homeowner and you need to have your lawn mowed, rather than calling around on Craigslist or Facebook or something like that, you just download GreenPal, pop your address in, and you hire somebody to cut your grass right through the app. Even if it's 5 feet tall, you can get somebody to mow your yard the same day on GreenPal.
That's so cool. Yeah, we were just saying, like, it's interesting how the simple ideas are the ones that seem to scale, you know? As I think as entrepreneurs, or I know a lot of startup founders, and everyone's romanced by the shiny thing, you know, the
Right,
sexy cool
right.
thing. I mean, GreenPal's not AI enabled, but it's a great business. You know what I mean? So you don't have to have AI to have a great business. I think that's kind of my point.
Yeah, I feel like for me, a couple things. If you're building a business from scratch, you can choose to be selling vitamins or sell painkillers. And I think if you're selling painkillers, it's going to be a little bit easier than if you're selling vitamins. And so for us, if your grass is 2, 3 feet tall and growing, and you've had three lawn guys flake on you, you just download Green Pal and problem solved. Painkiller.
Yeah, it's this time saving thing, right?
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And the other thing that the other theme that I've noticed in the last 22 years of being in business is the least glamorous, least alluring, least sexy your idea, the greater your chances can be for success, because not everybody is chasing that industry. Not everybody's chasing that opportunity. So if you can
Mm-hmm.
focus on the things that not everybody else wants to work on, then that makes it a little bit easier.
Mm-hmm. Yep, beautiful stuff. So, Bryan, let's get into the meat and the potatoes of this series. What is your epic story of fail for our audience around the world today?
Ooh, the hardest part is choosing which story, but one that one that I'll never forget is uh, my first business was a landscaping company. Built it up and sold it, and after I sold it, I thought I knew everything there was to know about business and getting a business going. And I had the idea for Green Pal, and I thought, well, I don't know how to code. I've never built software before. I've never built a website. But I know business and I know how to run a landscaping company, and that's the hard part, but I can just pay somebody to do the coding. I can pay somebody to do the development of the app. And so that's what I did. My co-founder and I, we pulled our money together, and we had the idea for GreenPal, and we paid a development shop $150,000 of our own cash to build what we thought GreenPal should be. And took them like 9 months, and they were working on this thing, and like they got it done, and we released it into the wild, and it was dead on arrival. It was a total unmitigated failure. Did not have the features it needed. It was clunky, buggy. The vision of pushing a button and somebody come mow your yard for you, it did not fulfill. And so I learned a very painful lesson that if you're going to be in the tech business, uh, you're going to need to learn how to build tech. You're going to need to learn how to write software. You're going to need to learn how to code. And so my co-founders and I had to like take a step back and learn how to build software. Went to online boot camps, every class on YouTube that you could imagine, and taught ourselves how to build software and rebuilt the whole thing from scratch while learning how to code. And I think the lesson learned was that you can't ever delegate anything unless you have like an 80-20 mastery of it. If you ever try to delegate from abjuration, which is like, I don't know how to do this, you go handle it. It scares me. I don't want to learn how to do it. You go handle it. Anytime you try to delegate from that type of position, it usually is going to blow up in your face, because that's the way I've experienced it.
That's awesome. So, Bryan, what else sort of stands out for you as a key lesson that you now take forward into the business today? Like, what would you do differently and why?
Yeah. So um, I think anytime I'm trying to build my team, I'm trying to launch a new initiative, I'm trying to improve something in the business, me as the person driving it forward, needs to get into the weeds and get dangerous for whatever it is. And like, for instance, ChatGPT and AI right now. I mean, it's, I don't want to learn a new thing. I don't want to learn prompt engineering. I don't want to learn what language models are. But now I'm having to retool because our content team is now leveraging AI, and now I kind of need to know how AI works, and how language models work, and how you can leverage this tool to run faster and do more things with less people. And so that's just an example happening today, where me as a CEO, even though our team is like 50 something people, I'm having to go back and take online courses, watch things on YouTube, take courses on Udemy around how AI works and how we can leverage it inside of our organization, and not just say, hey, product manager or content marketer or social media marketer, go sprinkle some AI on this. Like, that never works. You have to have an 80-20 mastery of whatever the hell it is you're trying to do. You don't have to be an expert. You don't have to be like a domain pro at it, but you have to have just enough knowledge to be dangerous, to be able to drive the decision making and drive the improvement.
Absolutely. Bryan, what's your advice to other CEOs or entrepreneurs right now in terms of the importance of failing or failure in becoming successful?
Yeah, I think, who said it? Bill Gates might have said it, that success is a horrible teacher. Everybody knows that. You never learn anything when everything is going well. And in fact, it's dangerous, because then you think it was kind of like me selling my first company. I thought I knew everything there was to know. And as it turns out, I didn't know the first thing on how to start a tech company. And so that failure is what, like, put my back against the wall and forced me to level up and become better. So it's trite, and nobody wants to hear it, but it's the failures is where you learn. And every major failure I've ever gone through in my life and in business, every time 5 years later or less, I was glad it happened, because I always look back and say, that was the thing that caused me to take the business down to the studs and rebuild it the right way. And there's this weird, like, psychological thing where, like, the person going through pain and going through some turmoil is actually in a better position than the person who is in, like, a state of comfort, because the person who's in a state of comfort is nowhere near making any sort of moves to get better, whereas the person that's in turmoil is. And so if you can remind yourself of these things, it can help, cope when you're going through them. But that's what I always try to tell myself.
Yeah, absolutely. Bryan, what would you say has been the biggest failure? I mean, I know there was the development one, but when you think about GreenPal, what stands out for you as like the biggest failure that that you've experienced on this particular journey?
Yeah, the biggest failure stemmed from the first failure. So coming out the gates, sold my first business. I want to, like, just put some money to work and build the thing. So I delegate to somebody. They waste a year and like all of our seed money, and so then I got the scars from that. And so now it's like, I'm not doing that again. And so I'm learning how to build software. My co-founders are too. And then the next mistake we made, or the next failure we experienced, was we waited too long then to delegate. And so it's like we delegated too quickly, and then we delegated too late. So then it was like 4 years of us doing everything ourselves: writing code, writing blog posts, doing social media, doing Google content creation, doing customer support, doing bug fixes. Everything was done with my two co-founders and I, working 100-hour weeks, 7 days a week, no salary. And what I should have done, and it actually almost tanked the company. What I should have done was, a year, maybe 2 years in, once I started getting a little bit of 80-20 Pareto principle knowledge on these things, I should have started forming up teams around me and my co-founders so we could move quicker. Because then I had some acumen in which to delegate. And that cost us 3-4 years and almost cost us the company. And luckily we course corrected year 4 or 5, but it could have been a dire mistake. But luckily we were able to pull out of it.
Amazing. Bryan, what about books, tools, and resources that you've read or consumed over the years that you recommend to other CEOs and entrepreneurs today?
I think as a business owner, you're doing 3 things at once at all times. You're working in the business, You're working on the business, and everybody knows that. That's the E Myth by Michael Gerber. But there's a third thing that doesn't get talked a lot about, and that's you're working on yourself. I think every business reaches the choke point of the founder and their skills. And so you as the founder always have to be leveling up, and you have to make time one day a week, one afternoon a week to read books, listen to podcasts, go to YouTube University. So for me, like the books I'm reading are usually block and tackling for whatever it is I'm trying to solve in the business at that point. I just read a great book by a guy named Andrew Chen, and the book is called the Cold Start Problem, and that book is about marketplaces like mine where there's a chicken and egg problem and getting both people into the to the platform at the same time. And so I think the deeper you can go in terms of people who have solved problems that you're trying to solve, the better. And if you're doing it right, I think that nobody should really these shouldn't be household names. You should be like reading a book by an author nobody's heard of because it's so niche to what you're doing.
Yeah.
Once you've reached that, then I think you're on the right track.
Yeah, awesome stuff. Well, Bryan, thank you for being on the show. That does conclude your time in the hot seat. Genuinely congrats on building such a great company to the scale that you have with such a simple thing. And obviously, you've done a great job at that. So, wishing you and the team at GreenPower all the very best for the future.
Thanks, Matt. I appreciate it.
Anytime. Everybody else, we'll see you again soon. Ciao.